Asinibingelele maswahla amahle ehlelweni Embili kanye. It's a Sunday evening and it's a wonderful time for me to be with you once again on this program called Embili kanye. Libito lami ngingijoli ngakaphireze sibonga maswahla amahle ngathemba ukuthi niphilile. Kuphi lapho ke umsakado nithola khona. Sundays are very unique in the sense that asikhulumisa ukuthi sicala ke liviki lelisha and sibuya ke kumbe indzaweni etahlukahlukene. Some very nice, some not so very nice, you know, your weddings, your funerals and so on. Kodwa ke sethemba nje ukuthi emaswati aphilile kuye kube ngazuthi esikhathini lesinyenti umuntu lo sebenta ke wirelessini noma kumbe lo sebenta ke ku TV makangena nje akangena thakasile ngalokuthi kumbe yena uthakasile noma kumbe you know le situation le kakiyo ithi akabe kule mood leyo because lo msebenzi uthi akabe kanjalo you know and I've always been cognizant of the fact that singena tindlini tebantu lapho khona kunekucabana kunetinkinga leti khona letahlukahlukene letfaka ekhathi yona lemikhuhlane lengishoko kunalabagulako lamakhaya kunebantu abashonelwe tihlobo you know and so many other issues that are troubling our families in our society. Sethemba nje ukuthi lokunhlele emakhaya tinvo titawulunga lokuye kube kuhle ngalohlelo ukuthi lungena nangaleli sonto lapho khona ke sibuya emasontveni ngiyophakamisa lo mtsala wethu insuku lokungiyena elithemba lethu bekunene helikuye you know we are a praying nation, we are a Christian nation, you know, and I was talking to a friend of mine I think early in the week and say bantu labathandazako bathole timphendvulo temithandazo kuye kube ngazuthi nje bahlobene naNkulunkulu noma babangani naNkulunkulu ukuthi ubaphendvulile ngoba bayatana you know, whereas prayer is for everyone honestly, and which is what I'm encouraging this evening ngisho nasemakhaya lapho khona kubonakala kathi timo ade sito letikahle you know letimo lengitibalako you know, and especially with the economic situation worldwide and in the country sikhuluma nebantu abangadi ukuthi batawulala badleni kutawudliwani kusasa kufuna kuthathwe ini kubhicwe nani lokwanalokwa you know, and especially now schools are opening labanye bathi ngathi school fees, it's just a whole lot of issues you know, and we believe lo ukuthi ke njengoba ngisho lo mtsala wethu insuku bekunene wasidala uyasadi, we belong to him nalapho khona lithemba ngathi lahleke khona I think we need to remember that we are not a being or a species that just merely existed. We have a creator who knows us. Angeke lekushumayela maswahla amahle kutase kube ehlelweni ke sikhulumisa tona leti ndzaba leti fana nanathi lengititsinzako it cannot help me to talk about a topic today when people in their houses are morosed, they are broken, they are devastated, you know. We just want you to know that we are with you because I think this program really is about that honestly. Sikhulumisa nje indzaba leti njengaleto ke maswahla amahle evikini eliphelile la ngihleti nemajala amabili la chamuka ke enhlanganweni le yatiwa ngokuthi ngokwakha indvodza besikhulumisa indzaba yababe locotfo nakungiletinye taleto tinkinga lesizama ukuthi ilungisa kwana namuhla ngale lesikhulumako lokuthi we need to reinforce the spirit of good morals amongst our families, amongst men, and to raise men that are going to be men of integrity in our society, men that can be role models in our society. Kunalomnye mengamelo live America, Theodore Roosevelt, at some point would say to educate a man in mind only and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. And we are nagale ukuthi tinkinga lesibhekene nato kakhulu sititshela nje ukuthi awu sifunzile abantwana bayaya esikolweni, and I think the issue of morals is a big issue in our society today in terms of being a good man, being a good father, you know. Where are the morals? I do have the people of Kwakha Inverter in the studio with me once again. Kutama nje kucinisa lendzaba ukuthi singaba bobabe labacotfo makuhamba kanjani. Ngihletike naSakhile Shabangu lana ungu-advocacy and communications coordinator. Ngibita kahle sikhundla namuhla. Shabangu ngikuvusele impela ngikuphethe kuvusele maswati.
Sibonge Phelezi sibonge nekubabukeli lobasekhaya ukuthi baphinze namhla babuya sakubhetela. Sitokhuluma nathi indzaba letimcoka.
Nembala mpela mzala angikuvusele mina yethu ngikuphela ithuba lekuvusela emaswati.
Aw.
UNicholas Mamba maswati amahle.
Kunjalo sasenda buhlobo la.
Yeah.
Station seliwe. Sibisele bakangwane siyabonga kakhulu ukumukeleka etindlini njengoba sashido baba Pires la. Asithembe ukuthi sitawubambisa.
Yeah. Angithinza kakhulu Shabangu lamagama lengiwacetha kuwaveta la mengameli weMelika lo wendlula Theodore Roosevelt uthi to educate a man in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. And I think sibambeleko kakhulu and sitoza makukhulumisa lokho namuhla kule issue yokuthi how can we become better, you know. Angathi lokuthi ngabe kini nichamuka Kwakha Inverter sikhulu kangakanani lesidingo sokuthi si reinforce le issue ema morals which I think is a foundation of integrity.
Hey, Perez lapho khuluma singisi mbamba manje. Sengibathengela kuthi Theodore wathi. Yeah, but yeah, I think I get the gist of what mengameli ukuthi bekazama kuthini laphana. And nathi siyinhlangano siyazama lokuthi align nalama values lawo. Kakhulu kade ngalana ku male involvement noma sibuke emajaha nabo babe ukuthi si resocialize njani bobabe ukuthi bakhone ku exista kule decades tanyalo. Because like I was saying last week ukuthi lama social issues lesesibhekane nawo namuhla 50 years ago bekangasiko kanje so kose aseka evolveile kanye nale culture lesiyo nayo se evolveile. So how are we resocializing bobabe kanye nemajaha ukuthi I exist effectively and harmoniously also nabomake nabosisi heaven ngoba siyadibona tinhlangano the women empowerment nema women's rights organization so la yaqhubeka abakhona ayaqhubeka ayafundisa bomake but as esafundisa bomake as also sibuye ngala sifundise bobabi nemajaha ukuthi nase kunje shothi lokutaba so kuze sikhona ukuthi siphilisane kahle. Le project nje yethu yababelo cotho nayo ithatha kuyibuka ngalunye ihlangothi uyabona ukuthi strategies to prevent violence lengenteka in the future and also now. So it's a preventative strategy because now buka incumbi yema strategies ethu abe responsive ukuthi sekwendekile nako mbekise nje nawubuka umthetho the legislation the framework the legal framework uyabona ukuthi imithetho is there to deter which is to prevent and also to respond. Is SODV siyabona ukuthi nema penalties la khona in terms of sesendekalile lesento naku lo bese kuyalandzela umphumela walokho but lama strategies ethu siyinhlangano ukuthi asiresocialize babe khona ato respecta lobunguye kwamake noma kwasisi in our society siyeke lokumtreata as a secondary citizen and lokho sikuportray through lokho ukuthi si reinforce le positive fatherhood so that lamajaha lamancane labanfana lakhaya batobuka le moral lengiyo yeku exist harmoniously namake ekhaya so that nanabo nabakhula sebathatha bafati noma sebacala bajola nabo seba exhibita lo kwafundziswa ngibabe ekhaya loku of good morals.
Yeah. Indaba yama role models mzala I think njengoba ngeke ngaveta earlier on ukuthi I think we have contributed to how in fact all of us have contributed to how this society is today because ngitiphethe ngendlela letsite kani kunemuntu longibukako you know wafunza lokutsite kimi you know I could have been smoking and when a 5-year-old boy was looking at me I could have been using abusive language when that 5-year-old boy was looking at me you know I think it's sekukhuluma ku context ye family kanzi also we can speak to the nation about the importance of us demonstrating good values good morals you know so that we are exemplary even to people that we don't know are looking at us but they are looking at us because we are living in the open
inshallah
yes mzala
ngoba kona kusilikhuni akusilikhuni noma sokukhuluma nabo baba akusilikhuni naloko bayirole nethi somehow lama rules thina siyawaphula but is expected abantwana bayolandzela njengalokho kubekisile and ke by censor izibantwana injustice kuseni bayabona ukuthi okay kudlalwa kathi nasibeke lemthetho okay la khaya akubuya after 6 wonke umuntu alandzele lo mthetho lo wonke umuntu la khala manga nayolandzela bayolandzela ke lo kanjalo nabo bayabona ukuthi okay this is what is expected la khaya and then bakulandzele also now thethisa lo mvala noma senigcabene noma uyamdrumisa ungamdrumisi nje hawu kuhle lo kwendela yabonga mfana nami ukuthi namhla ejudu washile futhi netinkomo divalele ube structured lento ade lo mfana uthi yathi ngithethiselwa naku noma ngibongelwa naku le justice ke iyaqina ke lapho nalabantwana sibabona ukuthi yathi babe lo mthetho akawushayeli ukuthi ucila tatsile baba usha umthetho vele nayo la kawulandzelako mntazana uphulile naye axolisa yabona lawo ma morals lobo ukusho ngani Theodore Rosa lawo ma morals lawo waqala at that level kancane siyekele loku khona lento lesivama kuyenda la kangwane lokho umuntu nakahlani phela sithi yawuva wena
Eyakufa lo.
yakuva lokho mfana
Udumise
kubudumisa but lo mfana akeva ukuthi uthini, is it positive, is it negative, and angiva mangendani. So somehow ngiyakukhumbula nami ekukhuleni kwami nje sometimes bawugcina ungathi ukuthi kodwa yini lele kumele ngiyende. So ke lo baba lo ucotho lesiba encourage yabo with the morals lokhuluma ngakho ngilokho kube clear yonke lento lokuthi it's for this, ngupanisha for now nanaku ngudumisa for now kule term lephelile awaphasi, this time uphasile shothi bawudadisha. Yabonga mfana kuhle mva, it's positive reinforcement. So lawo morals ke sofaka kancane ngithi mina akusilukhuni, but sofaka kancane siyekele lokuthi wena uhaluke la khaya
ukutiphatha lokuhle. I think masikhuluma ngema morals sikhuluma ngalokho ukutiphatha lokuhle, ukwenda lokuhle, kukhuluma lokuhle, you know, and sikuqinise nakulaba lesibabonako ukuthi bayakwenda nabo njengalaba bantwana lokukhuluma ngabo, you know, mkhombisa makende kahle ukukhulume nawe futhi wende likewise, you know. And I think nje ngibe nenhlanhla lokugcina ngihlangane nalamagama lomdzala, you know, we have a lot of men that are a serious menace to society, you know, and especially in the present day where you expect we are coming from an era back in the centuries of barbarism, you know, because there was no education back then, you know, and that education was supposed to be an enlightenment to us as a society. But nevertheless, you still find a lot of men a serious menace to society, you know, which is why I think last week besikhulumisa indzaba yabomake labameme bantfwana bayaka magistrate courts, bayaka social welfare and so on and so forth, you know. Despite the aspect of education, you know, and I think we need to speak to that to Eswatini today, sitting in their living rooms, in their bedrooms today, you know, how can we restore the issue of morality in our society? Noma ke lokwenda nekutiphatha lokuhle.
No, umbuto lo muhle loyo. Ngaze ngakhumbula emalanga ami ngisese classini sitheorize tonke letimboleto but nyalo say practically lena. Imvamsa esikhathi lesi esikwende periods go ukuthi siye sikhulume ngalama theories go ukuthi asi-employ hayini Maslow's hierarchy of needs noma John Pavlov isebenzisa amatema psychology, but la khona mbambamba ukuthi education ingaba khona, resocialization, lama community engagements, but isala la intentionality, because if ungasiko intentional as babe noma as lijaha in terms of lokufuna kwenda kucace nalokufuna kwenda kucace kude lokutawushintsha. And unfortunately for labo babe, if singabi intentional about lama fatherhood connections nalabantwana, lama repercussions funa sale swabuka, funa nje watu ukuthi if I positive reinforcement ingayisebenzisi kumfana nami lo umbatana like noma lo ngumfana, ema repercussions akhona unaku uwabone nje kusengendeke nekwendeka. So le intentionality ithi timvo letincane letifana nekokuthi nangumfana usesikolweni usese primary nakabuya umfana bamnikete homework, siyathi ukuthi imvamsa esikhathi siye si shift lama roles lawa siwafake ngalakumake, but nemfana uyafuna live lababe lapha. Yebo kona mhlawumbe imaths ayisiyo I strength sakho ukuthi utambhalisa le homework emaths bese ubuyithola 0. Siyakubona lokho, but asimane sifeyile khona, but iba khona
ngule uyakhona yini
exactly ngulokuba khona lokuba intentional ngaloko. And I understand futhi ukuthi lama pressures e society semaningi kakhulu, siyasebenta, and apart from kusebenta you still need to provide for the family, which means you may have to work double jobs, 2 jobs noma 3 jobs or whatever it is to bring money in. But if ukhonile kunelijale ngilatiko nje mne bantu abalo libakhulisa ngendlela lenhle lengiyithandzako, uyamika sure ukuthi noma ngabe uphithitela kanganani during the week, Sunday uyathi ukuthi bamfa bakhe badla I-breakfast lephekwe nguye. And apart from I-breakfast lephekwe nguye, ukhona kubonda nebamfa bakhe, umchef. So la kitchen ekuseni uyababita maka sengavuki beyanstopheka. And as apheka lapha tonke letimvo lethu uyabafundzisa ukuthi lokhu kusho ukuthi nawufaka lokhu kusho ukuthi ahla shiya bona ngala etengala athi salufaka lokhu sale wenda lokhu. And kule moment leyo lama activities lawo kuvela lama topics of interest alabantwana. Nakavela lama topics of interest ungibabe wena so capitalize kuloko, you're taking the conversation further. So faka lama good morals la kule conversation leyo. Lo mfana sonani so ne influence le strong lebuye ekhaya, so much so that nakaphuma ayele ngaphandle ayo socialize nesive sonke. Kuna naye backbone yokuthi babe lodlala the most important role alongside make ekhaya in terms of socialization. Sekuyasala lokho ababe ukuthi babe mina ngifundise lokho wangifundisa na ungifundise ukuthi umuntu wesifazane ngiyamhlonipha. Umuntu wesifazane akusiko kumsoma nangabe sengidakuphethe kumlandzela ngisho angafuni. Kumsoma ukuthi sibonene wangibona naye kwaba nema butterflies kumbe sabonana wayibona lokuthi energy khona baba ungifundisile ukuthi lapho ke shothi kusuke kulungile. Impose anything.
Ngithanda ngisho angithandi.
Exactly. So lelami libuyela la kuthenini Perezi asibe intentional yebo khona akhona ama pressures la khona but le lack of unintentionality ngiyo lama repercussions lesishobona namhlanje.
Kunalokunye lokukhona ngiyayithanda le campaign ya babe loqotfo nalama efforts nje from the organization broadly ekwekuthi let us focus on empowering men just try and speak into the issues laba affectako but lokunye lokwendekako ku society yethu nginayinto yekwekuthi lokungihletilana nje ngikhule ekhaya lapho khona le ndlela lengakhuliswa ngayo kumbe indlela nalabadali bami noma labo labangikhulisile ingilendlela nabo lebakhuliseka ngayo you understand lokwenta lokwekuthi kungendeka mawuthi uyeda Ndvulini utokhuluma nami ngibambe nathi tindvo le tatendi wangilomlo mdzala lo wangikhulisa ngoba naye kwakunjalo to such an extent that it's two way the way I want to dissect this thing. One ngle element yalo kwekuthi le ndlela mina lengikhuliseke ngayo sengithi mangihleti nawe Ndvulini nawe Shabangu ngikuva uthi wena bowufry emacanza lebantu abakho ngithi manje ngoba kukhulunywa nalesitsotsi phela la kuhlalwa khona ukhanze ukuthi manje uyabhayiza yabona itakujwayela kabi le fraud wenda tindvo lekungakafanele ukuthi utende and I think that's the issue of the morals we're also speaking about where we're saying we men also have a tendency to reinforce things that have not helped build our society because of what ukuthi manje ekhaya bekuthiwa upheka lo sisi and you go on to your circle of friends your men friends your male friends uyokhuluma lendvo leyo and ukhanze ukuthi une voice bayakhona nalo ukulalela we need to break that cycle angathi uthi singakulungisa njani lokho
ujalo wena uteka la inona khona le workshop yethu so so thine la kule nango iqiniso nje ngithi iqiniso lokuthi le ndlela lofundiswa ngikubita ngepressure cooker mina lokuba into it's like being a pressure cooker ngoba le performance yalobu dvodza it's so much labo director abadeki kwabazalo yathi sibe stage now bakutshela lokho akusibudvodza lokho hayi indvodza ayikwendi lokho ngeke mina sengize ngibende lokho manje nawe noma ngabe lenhlitiyo iyasho ukuthi yathi thina ngihambe ngelapha labo director lamadvodza lele kubitwa society video anguthanzi donsa back to the performance bese sokugcina nawe so inhlitiyo lelikhuni so uphinza leti into tababa wakho ngoba so uzama kufita into this performance of being a man because akusiyo nalokuba indvodza baba it's just a performance kufana wrestling lalaba ngena kuqala babangela umsindo yabona umsindo banga umsindo basiphushela le ndlela esikhule ngayo ke nalo lokusho kusiphushela kuleyo ndvo leyo kodwa ke nase bahleli labo babodvana kude make kude ngoba bayahluphana kunamake bese beva ngathi bafuna kumtshengisa ukuthi ba strong kanganani nase bahleli babodvana bonke bayiva lento sine nje kule workshop sithi ngikuphi awukuliste lo ngeke uzuphinza ukwenze ebantwaneni bakho lo wakho ufundza kubaba wakho yini lo tochubeka ukwende labantu bayexamine lento ukuthi yathi lokhu kubi lokho angeke ngiphinze ngikwende lokhu kuhle lokhu ngidakwenda yabona nazila lethombe nje Shabangu lapha sebabona abantwana balethi velako lethi mfana uvela omnye indvodza yangithinza nje le indvodza yathi angikwadi ke na into nayo kuthi angizange sengengidlale nababe angibambe ngaso so sifike kule honesty leyo even isisodvana nangabe siva ngazo ukuthi society does push into the acting le masculinity sikwende sisodvana sibude embambamba mazi examine embamba ukuthi lokhu vele kwakufanele yini lokuvusa abantwana trashula ingubo bashaya ekseni bathele ngemanti bagijime kuyo masimini is that what you want to do with your children
ufuna
sikukhulumise sisodvana sibe gentle njengoba ushito sakhala live sibe gentle with each other because i reality experience yethu sonke nawo babuda landlini cishe bonke sinabo labo babe
asesikhulumise lapho vele mzala kwendiwe lani lokwenda njalo no. I think that let's challenge that concept for instance lokwekuthi asengithi kumbe kusemakhaya ufuna labantwana bayokwenda something but instead of talking to them like human beings.
Yeah.
You know, angifuna ukuthi nicely, because sometimes without lo nicely bese kuba ngazuthi uyababrush abagcine bangakwendi. Talk to them like human beings. Yindlela yenda ngazuthi singasebenzisa emandla esikhathini lesiningi kanjengoba ngisho le era lesikiyo le akusasiyo na ya barbarism.
Yeah.
Because that era was there, you know. Because there were a lot of things both mawutibuka betendwa ngama human beings back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, instead of kukiyekelisa ukuthi no, don't do that, because now there is a mode of communication. Bengithatha indvuku ngishaye lesandla. And even today we still do that, and you ask yourself why, you know.
Yathi ke lokho ngidawusho nje mina experience yami nalabo babele sisebenza nawo ngazuthi i-influence lenkulu kunendlela yasaqala ngayo industrialization. Ngicube abantu basebente emabhunu noma sengiphoca abantu. Ngazuthi bekuyindlela yabo. Ngoba uva basho noma bakuvusa la kuseni bathi ngeyulunga eJozi wena. Ngeyulunga eJozi kusho there's this Johannesburg life le strong lephilako. So ba repeater nabo lokucilateka lokubavelele le laba basebenza khona bagcilata. I'm not sure ukuthi kukhona
Inetimphanza leti.
Inetimphanza. I'm not sure ukuthi kukhona in the Swazi culture itself. I'm not sure ukuthi kukhona.
Yeah. I think nalokunye ngicese nje John kungeta kuloko apart from le socialization yokuthi sebabuya outside of the country nabo lapho ba mistreatwa khona kunana i-element yale patriarchy. Ngiyathi silisebenzisa kakhulu igama le, but le patriarchy ithi I am a man and therefore I am dominant over you as a woman. And ultimately was wangena kule space lesi sasikhuluma ngokuthi the woman now is a secondary citizen. So second in place kulo longbabe. And ultimately banfana labadelwe la khaya baphuma from make. So nabo ultimately sebatawuba la. And loko ke kwase kwendeka so le objectification vele itaba khona, le disrespect itaba khona because asilingani. And that is where the conversation ye gender equality noma gender equity besiyangena. Ithi asithi kokuthi make nababe bayafanana, but sithi make nababe asibanikete emathuba lalinganako so that they can participate the same. Hayi ukuthi bayafanana because kunalama roles, I think ngachaza nje last week ukuthi kunalama sex roles nema gender roles. Ema sex roles athi make can never ejaculate sperm. Lama anatomical structure yakhe angeke seyimvumelo tsende njalo. Nababe angeke akhona ukuthi akhulelwe ngoba ude that anatomical structure kokutsende njalo. But lama gender roles athi ekhaya, if nawubuka nje the traditional nuclear family nasibuka in pre-industrial times pre-industrial times bekuphuma babe la khaya ahambe ayosebenta, nakasebenta abuya providele lomndeni. Kwaya ngekuya kwaba nema contemporary nuclear families lapho khona bekaphuma babe namake aphume naye bobabili bahambe bayosebenta bese bayabuyisa i-income bathisa lekudevelopa likhaya. But nyalo thine la sibambelele khona is that lama patriarchal constructs solo sibambelele kiwo ekuthenini babe ngubabe ekhaya, and without lokuba libhubesi angeka vakali. Saze samuca lokuba libhubezi babe utawulahlekelwa inhlonipho. And that's why last week inawuthi nje wena nangabe babe akasebenzi, because le masculinity, le toxic masculinity ascribes lokuba masculine and being in power with a specific activity. If babe angasebenzi la khaya, chances are ngisho nanaye utawugcina seva ngazuthi atangihlonipheki la ngenxa yokuthi that activity that gives me that masculinity ayisekho. So ultimately once we fix the idea ukuthi patriarchy is a construct and therefore it moves with culture and socialization and social change. Like you were saying 50 years ago bekuhlukile nganyalo. Le revolt lesisiyibona nyalo in society is because second globalization, we are seeing how other societies are working. Prehistoric times bo Egypt bo kanza ngokuthi some of the duties that were left for men were being done by women, and vice versa. Lakithi uyakhanza ngokuthi kuhlukile. You look into other society as well. So uyabona lokuthi le culture ihlukile and le patriarchy nayo it expose noma it veta in a different way. So kwethu kubuka ukuthi lama consequences alokhu lebesolo sibambelele kiwo athini. Swaziland right now is one of the countries with the highest GBV rates, highest HIV prevalence rates, highest unemployment rates, one of the highest crime rates as well. And on top of that, issues of mental health now again affecting who? Proportionately, significantly the men. And ultimately that means the patriarchy was never something that was entirely for us.
Yeah.
It was something that was built also against us. It's just that solas realize ngoba soloku siniketa la mandla.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a prominent attorney, I think last week or early last week, and I think certain things have also helped to reinforce that element of patriarchy, and I was asking, according to the Roman Dutch common law, kubangwa yinto ukuthi you own 50% of the estate, I own 50% of the estate, But when distribution is made, when one of the spouses, dies, you also get the share on the 50% that's supposed to be for the children. The spouse get the 50%, indicating that the spouse is also a minor in the estate, And I was saying, but isn't this also a challenge, that has helped to reinforce women as minors in our society to say, in as much as we are an adult, but we are still entitled to this because according to the definition of this agreement or relationship, you are still perceived as a minor, If we don't start questioning or debating this kind of issues and in terms of how they can help us to grow as a society going forward, it is going to be a problem, But I think mzala sisuka khashane nale thinking aleti. And ngashaywa ekhaya kwabanjanjanyana ngakhuliseki kahle kumbe and without even knowing wa adopter tin for le namuhla bongathi nalokuthi yathi lokho akusiko lokho. Vele lo munye uthi angihleki nemfati.
Kunjani?
Angihleki nemntwana because mkhulu bekanje babe bekanje baqhamuka generation, and we have a lot of these families in our society. What can we do to try and now come from the perspective yashabangu intentionality? Is it possible
I think it
to
is
want to do better, to want to engage, to bond with my children, to be a man of honor?
100% possible. Ngiyacela kulabo babe laba ngathi noma le sitawuhlangana nabo noma bobabe labalalele namhlanje ukuthi all we need to do is be intentional. Asesikhulume ngithanzile nje asesi-debate this thing because maybe thina nani lana siqhamuka from one sort of era. Asesi-debate because even ayingasinatural vele iyalwa njengoba ushido baba lokhu sisekufuna uperforme imasculinity noma ngabe ingasakusebenzeli ugcina uyadibulala ugcina ubulawa ingqondo. So and I think the first step is just to talk. Asesikhulumeni njengoba benicoca nalommeli say how kusibenefita ngani thini lokho ukuthi kufuna ube ngetulu noma ngabe kungasafanelanga noma ngabe ungasaqualify noma ngabe ungasakhona but kufuna ube ngetulu so pusha ke ngemandla ke sesiphambana yonke into ke la khaya lana live liyafa ngaleyo ndlela leyo. So mina I would say gently nje asesikhulume leti ndzaba Eswatini.
I would even challenge kwena Perez ukuthi nasingathi senda licwaningo online noma survey thide leta uthi asesibuke ema experiences that we have. I think it's an activity lesinayo kulama workshop ababelo xotho. Siye sithi ama participants akacabange ema experiences abo labanawo with their fathers. Basitshele ukuthi were they good ones or were they bad ones. And now ubuka futhi lapha incumbi yabantu batakutshela ngamake kakhulu ukuthi my mother played a very important role. My mother this, my mother that, my mother that. Babe ubi. Ukhanza ukuthi sometimes it's not an issue ukuthi babe akekho la khaya. Absent. Ukhona babe ula khaya. Uyasebenta futhi ikhaya liyandlondlobala. But kuna nathi tinfo letihambelana nale social fabric yaleli khaya. Ukhanza ukuthi nawubuta ukuthi ngiphi inzima la idlala baba wakho bokwenda lokhu nababa wakho bokwenda lokhu nababa wakho and namuhla lokhu uyafisa yini kube ngabe wakwenda lokhu. And ultimately if logo kuyinto lebeyingendeki it should then be a point to you as a parent noma as babe namuhla ukuthi how do I change that so that my child does not become me. Uye athi lo munye nje a school or different school of thought ukhulumisa ngokuthi before we have children asesithathe thine siyolungisa tinkinga tethu before silethe bantwana sitobafundzisa le tinkinga tethu. So we need to rid ourselves of yonke lento lenatsile singakabi nalabantwana. And part of logo ngilokubanga babe lokuxoxa the planning that stage before it comes, because if you have the child prematurely of course utawuthatha konke nawo lokwathi ukuthi wafundzisa kona ukuthatha ukufake la. And unfortunately bathi past experiences influence present behavior noma kanjani. That is why umfana lo sekhaya lo tawuhlale abona make nababe bashayana
Yeah.
nakafika lesikolweni utawufike shayela abanye abantwana uthatha imali yabo kuye akuregister ukuthi yatikapi lemfo le kuye le behavior lena ngiyibona ekhaya ngayi-observer ngayi-assimilator sengiya-exhibita and it is normal because the family is the most important institution in society.
Kubuhlungu lokuthi live elilala khona ngato leti indzaba ukuthi lokwendekako, the way people are behaving even up to the point of them being a menace to our society ngilendlela kumbe labachamka kiyo emakhaya ngingathi ukuthi masikhulumisa indzaba ukuthi bobabe asebashinje noma kumbe asebagucule indlela lebenta ngayo tintfo kube ngazuthi ngilokuthi nesilumbi Perez nifuna kusendisa letintfo deni leti you know. But here is a trick with this thing. Banenge bantwana labafile, teenagers in particular, atibulala, commit suicides. Mawuthi uyayifunza suicide note, ukhanza ukuthi lo mfana bekane thinking letinengi nalabadala labangati lokho ukuthi lo mfana bekana thinking leti, you know. And I think this thing suicides, like you were talking about mental health issues, it speaks to the disconnect that is happening within families, you know. Vela kanandzaba lo mntali nalomntwana you know as long as adlile but these kids have serious problems you know, and I think in the past 3 years or so suicides bekamanengi kakhulu you know early this year last year the schools around Babane you know so and so committed suicide. We were with him yesterday, they committed we saw that last year you know. Where were the parents to find out exactly what's bothering these children? And especially with issues of adolescent stages, you know, ukhanda ukuthi labamfana sebaqala ema feelings and is about disappointed boyfriend. Sikhule sitshelwa ukuthi manje uganile. Lala la phasi inkuzo ucuthe so ushayiwe lo but uganile noma kumbe so unawo lama feelings so udlalwe ngilomfana so uva ngathi angatibulala sekufuna ukuthi abinza atibulale vele because they cannot open up you know le element ye integrity kuba ngibabe ngikuphi lokungcono lokuthi manje ubhoboke kulomfana noma atibulale
eventually khona le sikubita quality time la kuma relationships quality time imcoka kakhulu ke with the children ngeke nakuthinza nje na ukukhuluma ngale intentionality ngoba quality time singasebenzi angibe siyabona siyolima itaba likhulu ngoba it's like a target based activity but nasingeke sithi uthathe nje abantu abakhona yonke activity lebayithanza ngobantu bekusengekupheka activity lebayithanza le light if you do that activity kuyavela into leti utokutshela umfana wakho insecurities la nawo utokutshela ama fears la nawo ukhona intervene into leti into ekugana before tendeke uspend this quality time with bantwana ungabi ngibabe lo aloof noma ngumntalo lo khona la khaya but na ungena kubaleka abantwana bashomana ekamereni now phuma so ucethe kubela TV ngikhona khanza bagcweleke na ubuya phindze futhi bahambe hlala nalabantu abakho nihlale nento activity mostly kufuna na so ukhulisa nje like a girl child choose the activity la ithanza wena maybe you know gawulathi inkuni maybe nendani nanilahlathini noma kanjani niyakhuluma. That's what happens in retreats in the corporate world bankhokha from the work environment hambe nje niyodlala activities niyodlala shumbu niyodosala ini lapho the truth iyavela angaze relax le character lomfana akhohle lokho ngibambe lona la
ucabanga ukuthi awuvani naye sawubona ukuthi umuntu akanalutho against me
bakazapholo lo muntu oh this is what's happening nibiyani bambene nje labantwana
uyaqhubeka
umsebenzi noma ngabe sokuganekile so uyakhona correctana uthi yemsisi
ngicela ukuthi sale siyikhulumisa na indaba yalama stages ekukhula kwebantwana you know as we are sitting here kunebadala labangithula abahleli la sitting room abevani nanyalo ngesizathu sekwekuthi lo munye kumbe nyalo usekamerweni nomunye la sitting room babanga indzaba yokuthi babe washaya umntwana wacishwa ambulala amshayela ukuthi uganile you know waze lo mfana wagcine ngale thinking ale betimphethe watibulala you know and make washo lokuthi yathi kube lo mfana samkhulumiza ngakafanga abevani namuhla you know. Is it wrong for parents to engage their children you know as young as 10 11 12 13 years primary school kids to find out if they have feelings for boys for girls you know because I know when I was in primary school, grade 5, there is a girl I used to like, you know. Only that my parents didn't know. And I'd like to believe this is a natural part of growing up, you know. Go wrong in ukuthi batali babhobokelane nalabo standard 3 ngenza baye ukuthi kunenifombatana ngiyithandzako. kunemfana lengimthandzako
Yeah.
angathi lokuthi
Yeah.
because sitawabona lama suicides, you know, sitawabona lama early pregnancies nalama STDs if we avoid all this kind of topics.
Yeah, ngumbuto lomuhle lo Perez, and le scenario lo ivetawo nje is an actual situation because sekukhona ama clients leseke sadila nawo in the past that have experienced info lefana naleyo. And nawubuka live la kaNgwane nyalo sing number 4 in the top 5 countries with the highest suicide mortality rates worldwide. Islandzelwa ngeLesotho number 5.
Number 4 worldwide.
Worldwide, Swaziland loyo. So number 14.
Yeah.
In terms of suicide mortality rates. And nasibuka le scale sikhuluma ngokuthi estimately about 700,000 people lose their lives to suicide each year. So libuka live la kaNgwane ukuthi nasithi number 4 se contribute kanganani. In as much as silive lelincane. La 1.2 or 1.3 million.
The rate at which people are committing suicides compared to our size is very
too
big.
much.
Yeah.
It's too much. And lapho khona ilahleka khona is that suicide is the second leading cause of death amongst young people aged between 15 and 25.
Sure.
And lo 15 and 25 lapho sikhuluma kuna stage lo sibekisile se in the social sector sibitwa ngokuthi identity versus role confusion. Le adolescent stage. Lapho umfana lo intombatana noma lo mfana nakangena kule stage leso because of all the influences la khona, so uzama ukutithola ukuthi yena ungubani. And unfortunately lo theorist lona ngibani Eric Erikson abethi umfana otikhanza kule battle ukuthi uthatha influence from friends, uthatha influence from the community, influence from social media, and tries to find self. Lapho nakathatha lapha nalapha uba nale role confusion akatata ukuthi ungubani. Gani if kunale socialization lengiyo la ekhaya yababe namake influence yabo njengoba usho, we're having these conversations about intimacy, we're having these conversations about love connections and whatever it is. Noma ngabe singaku bathi belumbi the birds and the bees, noma singabi particular in that sense, but loko ukuthi lama conversations akaqalile abakhona. Lo mfana uyathi ukuthi mzukwana kwenteka na uyakhona gijima ayotshela makhe noma ayotshela babe. Because if kude le connection noma le communication uyukhanze ukuthi nangabe kunamalume lakhaya solo uyagagadlela umfana akakhona ukukhuluma, and uyokhuluma langalimbe sekuvele sokonakele. Mhlambi STD seyimbolisile and kude lo watiko khani sekaveta because sekuyativeta nako. Kan if kunale communication sisita ukuthi sivimbe not just issues of ukuthi umfana sokuqala kubona ukuthi unema feelings, but sizama kuvala naindzaba futhi ukuthi umfana ahluleke ukuthi apote ukuthi kwendekalani. And on top of that, it also feeds into the character of the child continuing to grow up. The influence yababe, because usikhuluma ngababe lokucotho namuhla yinkulu kakhulu, because babe nakakhonile ukukhuluma nemfana on topics of interest to the child. Atilethe kule level yemfana but still maintaining lokho ukuthi ngingibaba wakho. But ngiyakhona lokho ukuthi sibe nama conversations. Kunebantfana kulamanye amave lo tawukhanza ukuthi bathi my father is my best friend. If ungabuta namhla lokho ukuthi bangaki labangakhona kusho lokho namuhla, for sure bancane kakhulu ngingadi ke, but lokho bancane lokho is because some of these concepts solo sibambelele ekuthenini these are western concepts akasiwo ethu.
Bayaslimalela labantwana,
bayaslimalela
sibadali sikhona,
bayaqhubeka futhi bantfana bathatha, and because sekusiku age ya social media bantfana bayakhona ukuthi bathathe bathenge iphilisi lengobolwane in the black market, noma athola insambo abone ukuthi ifaswa njani ukuze igcine kahle la. And if children are exposed to that and solo thine asifuni kuba nalama conversations lamcoka nalabantwana, sitaqhubeka sibaluze, and if singabaluzi we are creating citizens labataqhubeka njengoba usho babe menace because the father figure was never there.
Lenye into ke le hambe yavela sesekhona la kulolu hlelo Embili kanye kanye sihlena lamanye ke ema stakeholders in the health sector aveta ke indzaba yokuthi bantu besifazane bayashiya kakhulu emhlabeni, babulawa ke icancer yamdlavuza wesibeletho, i-cervical cancer. Mawuthi uyalandzelela ibangwa yini le cervical cancer? Ngunama relationships bantfana labawenda basesebancane bathole leli gciwane lithiwa ukuthi ke human papilloma virus, HPV. Ekhambeni kwale minyaka lo mfana sekathi ukhulakhulile seyimbambile stage 1, 2, 3, 4 of cervical cancer, before you know it, your daughter dies. It's not hereditary. It is you being absent in your daughter's life in terms of saying, if you do this, this is going to happen, you know. But we need to strengthen these engagements within our families and find out if our daughters are sleeping, because if they have, there is something developing inside them that you don't know. For instance, the HPV virus that causes cervical cancer in women. Ngikuphi-ke lokungcono lokuthi sithi khulumise sibhobho kunethi lo mfo agcina asishile emhlabeni. Ngicabanga ukuthi Indvulini kuyafuna ukuthi sikhulume kwasakuncusa la emakhaya lokuthi asikakhuli kanjalo, siyathi kulukhuni kunale element ye ego, ye masculinity and all those kind of things, you know. But we need to change for our children so that we build a better society.
Kunjalo ungayithatha personal psychology utangisida shabangla. It's a psychology. Once into yenziwa ngumfana wanyanya wahluthuka washisa, akusiyo lo mfana lo wrong nguwe. There's something like trickery in you, because umfana ukuthi ulahle 10 rand, I think ukuthi umfana akameli ngabe ukwata ukuthi uzumgadze, and inkinga yekushaya ukuthi kufuna kukhule. Wabshaya ethi namhla ngalaleli kusasa fanele bese uthola lisinga, kusasa bese ufuna uthola ini sokugcina somshayile sombulele. Ngiko lokungazothi le lo maguduva le punishment abayithanzi emhlabeni vele nje ayisebenzi ngalokuthi yona igcina vele igcina esibhamini, igcina umuntu asafile kule nto leyo. So kunxusa njengoba usho ke Mr Perez kuthi incenga nje uhlale nje ungabi nalabantu, uhlale nje utibukele kana nawe ukuthi kodwa lo mfana lo njengoba asaqale kulala yini lengayenda, sekaqale kunatha yini ukushodani la khaya, ngoba kunatha phela nayo maybe acceptance ngoba etshwaleti kubulazi ba accept abantu kude lokungena ukuthi ugcokeni wangagcokeni. Maybe there's a problem there.
It's possibly speaking to rejection and
there's a rejection problem there. Then bese u react to that, uyeke lo reactiswa ngilokudzawa kwalomfana ngoba utamshaya utamlimata. So uzama kuya kule route ubuke nje ukuthi what's happening here, le parenting le quality tabangcono lapho than lokuhamba uyobuka abantu ukuthi ayikufikile kwamshaya kwamix ekhaya. Abantwana abanjalo siyabathi sonke sikhule nabo ababuyi endleleni babahlata
kwenzeka kungeva kukuncane mhlawumbe. Ngicabanga ukuthi ngilokunye lekufuna sikulungise because ukhanza ukuthi akusikuthi akeva but ngakubeka kanjani, it's the energy levels that this child has, you know. Uyaphithitela, uyadlala, inquisitive, uyabuta, you know, and uyareact, you know, when there are emotions, you know. Ayikuthi akeva but ukhanza ukuthi lo mntana lo mfana ugcina sozuyamiyekela ushaya labanye bantwana because yena utitshela ukuthi vele kukhule kungeva, you know. Sigcine lo mfana kumbe singakamaki, you know. And I think lento leyo ilahlekisa le aspect yebucotho la ngakithi sibadala ukuthi umfana angakhasa akhula zabe indvodza solo ahwadla abantu ngethi impahla edrobheni abetfuka bentalo kwanalo mithisa left right. Where were you as a parent?
And kusibulala mbamba ke ezemadvodza ngoba vele lingilabantu abayithu thina emadvodza la badalise yonke le live abandli abedid abase responsible nathi sihleli nabo la ndlini hayi akeva lo nowabe kanjalo vele le element lo show
uhlukhulumisa kwa psychologist ngicela uyigoqode ngicela sele sigoqoda siphume njengoba ngisho I think sikhulumisa into letinengi directly and indirectly some of these issues.
No, I think lelisuka kithi siyinhlangano kungaba kucela sive bobabe asven ukuthi yebo kona siva ngazothi ma western concepts lapha, but asasibuke ukuthi lama western concept lesolo singafuni kwa adopter solo alida kunama suicide rates la nyukako, solo alida kunama GBV cases la nyukako, solo alida kunama male gender based violence disclosures langendeki because emadvodza asaba ukukhuluma ngoba basaba kusiphataba inhlekisa. Kubanga so many of these things letibanga ukuthi babe akekho present positively empilweni yemfanakhe. So kungaba kunxusa nje esiveni ukuthi asasihlolisise sibuke ukuthi thina sibuya kuphi, sibuke ukuthi kutasebenzela yini bamfa bethu nyalo nangabe ngeke kusebenzele sekushinje khona sitawuqhubeka nayo. Inhlangano ikhona sithi setawubamba ema workshop ababe lokucotho neminyaka lotako nje. I think sina yinye yegcina kulomnyaka lo mhla ka 4 December sitayi publisher i-venue ukuthi itawuba kuphi. I think sine space of 40 kwama participants bobabe ema expectant fathers 4 December on a Saturday. It's a full day event. Babe lokucotho facilitator la celeni wami ukhono tabashumayela tonke letimvo letikhulumisako namuhla na next year futhi siyachubeka nema workshops. If une uva kokuthi cha le program yayidzinga ngakuwe ngasenza wenyakini sithumelele inango i-email lapha kakwaKhayendvodza. I think it's info@kwaKhayendvodza.com. ucele kokuthi ngabe singakhona yini ukuthi angakhona, as long as ungamobilize ama participants sitawufika thina sitawufundzisa.
Nyambali phela siyabonga kakhulu Shabangu Ndvuleni, siyabonga kakhulu. Ngicela niwaqinise lama workshop ningicele nginiphekele itele nganyelanga bangabe kubheka njani nami sengiyakwe ngidive leti info leti. Lo munye ke uyawothi mntwanami lokhu email lothi angikwende angikwadi laba ngakhona email ngicela babothi nzamile la inombolo 76037307 ngidabaxhumanisa nalamajala acela ku emailelwa lana sithola indlela lelula yekwenda le lami legcina le ngicela kuphuma ngalo thina bobhuti labakhona. Let us just be proactive about being exemplary in our society. See a young man doing something, talk to him nicely, sit him down as a man, and inculcate that spirit and culture of being a gentleman in him. You know what, my son, you know, you cannot be 13 years old uhambe nebhodlela labhiya, you know. Mkhulumise nicely, you know, and carry yourself, you know, as a gentleman would, as a man would, you know, because inadvertently, you know, there are a lot of young men that are looking at you, demonstrating. We are driving nice cars today, probably because we saw someone ahead of us driving a nice car and said, ngifuna khula ngifane nabani, ngifuna kuba njani. Where I'm sitting, I need to demonstrate that, you know, in your area, in your community, in your workplace. I think this is what we need to do. Sikhutane thina madoda emikhubeni lemibi, ungakhulumi nje in a round table uthi ushaye infombi yakho bese niyahleka nabanye. You know, umuntu lotawuthi ushaya infombi yakhe sihleli asivele simbambe ngesandla simekhute ukuthi no, uyabona ke lento loyikhuluma kule ngilento live lelilwa nayo nisibuyisela emuva. Don't do this thing again. Wouldn't you have done ABCD to resolve the problem? Bito lami ngiJohn Perez, Jehova kasigcine sibonane ngalokudaba siphilile. Sale kahle.